All right, so executive assistants, huh?
Hmm.
You've been sending over some interesting stuff on EA's articles, research, even something that looks like a company profile.
Hmm.
Seems like you're really digging into how this whole EA role is changing.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe even thinking about bringing one on board yourself.
Well, the traditional idea of an EA all phone calls and those perfectly organized filing cabinets feels very like 1980s movie montage.
Oh,
But
totally.
2024, it's a completely different ballgame.
Totally different. One article actually called the modern EA a diplomatic air traffic controller.
Oh, I like that.
I know, right? Really captures the skill and awareness needed, juggling priorities, personalities, probably the occasional coffee crisis too, and they make it look effortless.
It's true. It's all about creating that environment of calm.
Hmm.
Most execs are dealing with constant information overload, competing demands,
Mm.
pressure from every direction. Really.
Yeah.
A great EA doesn't just manage the chaos, though. They anticipate it. They
Hmm.
build those systems and structures that let the executive focus on what they ideally should
Yeah.
be doing. The leading, the strategizing, all of that.
Exactly. And speaking of skills, that piece you sent on the evolving role of EAs, honestly, it read like a superhero origin story.
Huh.
Impeccable organization, ruthless prioritization. It's like they need superpowers the rest of us haven't even unlocked.
Right, and these aren't just buzzwords either.
Yeah.
Like, take ruthless prioritization. Imagine an executive about to give a major presentation. Really.
Okay.
A good EA doesn't just schedule the meeting beforehand. They're thinking about everything that comes before that. Does the exec have the right information? Or they prepped for pushback? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
A great EA, they control the flow to maximize impact. Every situation.
It's like being a master chess player, but instead of pawns,
Mm.
it's calendars and deadlines.
Oh, and maybe the occasional urgent request from, like, a high-profile client.
Exactly. And that's where you get to the secret. So all those soft skills your research mentioned. Emotional intelligence, discretion, being able to navigate personalities.
Right.
That's not just nice to have stuff. It is essential when you're talking about high stakes decisions, that kind of pressure cooker environment. Yeah, that line about tact and professionalism really got me. Made me think about those moments when things go sideways.
Yeah.
A PR crisis, a client dispute. You need someone who is the calm in the storm.
For sure.
And not just logistically, but emotionally, too.
Exactly. Imagine a really sensitive negotiation is happening, right?
Yeah.
The EA might be the only other person who actually knows what's at stake, the dynamics, the pressure.
Wow.
They've got to read the room, anticipate needs, act without being asked,
Mm.
all while remaining completely invisible, like a shadow CEO.
Right.
Oh,
It's a level of trust.
Yeah.
You can't force that. It has to be earned.
right.
And these days, part of that is being so tech savvy. All the tools your research mentioned, Asana, Slack, those CRM platforms, the modern EA has to be fluent in all of that now, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not knowing where the stamp drawer is anymore.
Right.
It's about automating workflows, managing projects across platforms. You really have to understand the whole digital landscape the executive is operating in.
But it's interesting, right? Because it's not enough to just be a tech whiz.
Right. No.
Like, knowing the spreadsheet software is one thing, but understanding how that data connects to actual business decisions,
Yes.
that's another level entirely.
You're spot on. Business awareness. That's the key. It's
Yeah.
the difference between just booking a meeting
Mm.
and getting why that meeting matters. Who's invited, when it's happening, what's on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
A great EA doesn't just manage those logistics. They get the WHY behind them.
And that's where they can offer real insights then, right? One
Yeah.
article even talked about EAs being part of decision-making, which I'll admit that surprised me a little.
Yeah.
They're not just taking notes off to the side, they're becoming thought partners, sounding boards,
Yeah.
almost an extension of the executive's own thinking process.
Exactly. And this is where you see companies like AHBS popping up. It's not just that the EA role itself is changing. It's that being an executive is so much more complex now. They need this kind of support to actually thrive.
It's like having an extra brain to bounce ideas off of. Someone who gets your style, your goals, even your blind spots, maybe.
For sure.
And AHBS, at least from this profile, they seem to really get that.
What's interesting about AHBS is that focus on those high-level functions. Strategic planning, problem solving. I even saw something about anticipating market trends.
Yeah.
It's not just admin stuff. They're selling themselves as the solution to the problems modern executives have.
And they're doing it in a way that seems cost-effective.
Yeah.
Scalable, too, which is huge because Hiring a full-time in-house EA with that level of experience,
Oh, yeah.
that's a massive investment, and no guarantee they're the right fit long-term either.
Exactly. Whereas a firm like AHBS,
Yeah.
you suddenly got access to a whole team of really qualified EAs.
Yeah.
And often, they've got experience in a specific industry, a specific field.
Right.
It takes the pressure off finding that, like, unicorn employee.
Yeah.
And it means you can scale your support up, down, however you need to.
It's like, I don't know, almost having a secret weapon, but instead of like world domination, it's about actually hitting your business goals.
I like that.
You get the exact expertise when you need it without the long-term commitment or the overhead, which is huge for a lot of companies.
For sure. And it really points to how you're viewing EAs now, right? It's a shift. We used to see them as gatekeepers, and now...
They're strategic.
Exactly. They're assets. And the more companies figure that out, the more we'll see this move towards, specialized support and a real emphasis on those high-level skills.
Yeah, it's like, what's that saying? It takes a village, maybe for today's executive.
Yeah.
It takes a top-notch EA.
Huh?
Or even a whole team of them working behind the scenes.
Right.
And honestly, it's a win-win. Executives get the support they need, and EAs, well, they're finally getting the recognition. And frankly, the compensation. That reflects how important they really are.
Absolutely. Makes you wonder, though, thinking about what you need,
Yeah.
what would your ideal EA look like?
Ooh.
If you could build a role from scratch, no limits, what would be non-negotiable? What skills? What qualities?
That is a really good question.
Something to think about, especially as this whole world of executive support keeps